p.m., February 18th meeting of the Aransas County Navigation District. I'd like to call the meeting to order with a quorum here, and let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. That's the first time I've done that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Moment of silence for this country. Or moment of silence for this country.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, citizens to be heard, I have two filed. Matt Oker. You are a specific agenda item? Yes, correct. Okay, let's wait until until we get there. Very good, thanks. Pat Russo, public service announcement, Ms. Russo.
Thank you. Pat Russo, 187 Heron Oaks in Rockport. Last Tuesday morning, the Aransas County had a kickoff for the hazard mitigation plan update, and it was at the Public Service Center out there on bypass 35. What we really need is for as many people in the community to go online and to hit a QR code and participate in the survey. And I'm thinking, Keith, were you there?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. And Janine. Oh, Janine, okay, sorry, I didn't see you. Anyway, I can send that QR code to you all if you like, and then if you have somebody you send it out to. I think it is on the county's website. You don't really need to come to one of the meetings. There was a planning meeting at 10 o'clock, I think, and then there was a public meeting at 11. But basically, the public meeting was just to encourage everybody to go online, hit that QR code, and then complete the survey. And this isn't for one specific part of Aransas County. This is the whole Aransas County hazard mitigation plan. We have to update that plan every 5 years, and the more responses we get, the better and the more complete the plan will be.
Can you maybe open that up and describe what the hazard mitigation plan really is, so people know whether they want to go talk about it or not?
I'm not sure I'm the best one to do it, but what I can tell you is it's required for eligibility for grant funds through FEMA. So we absolutely need to have that done, and I believe that we have to have ours done, so if the NAV district or the city or any other entity within the community wants to apply for a grant, they can refer back to this hazard mitigation plan. And the 5-year plan either has expired or is getting ready to expire, and that's why we need to get this one updated.
Top 3 major hazards?
I'm not sure, I haven't taken the survey, to be honest with you.
Tom,
I
Okay,
can.
thank you.
This is a multi-jurisdictional plan. It's gonna have the county, who is gonna be the, I guess you would say, the administrator of the plan, the city of Rockport, the town of Fulton, the navigation district, and the school district. We all are equal members of this plan. We have to lay out all of our properties that are vital to operation of our county, but it's also going through our fire damage, our hail damage, flood, of course, tropical, all these different stages that we have to answer all these questions. It's pretty in detail, but Pat was right. If we do not have an approved plan in place before hurricane season, we will not be eligible for funding. FEMA funding. So that is a death knell for us.
And why does Joe Citizen want to get online and give their opinion on what?
That's just the process. We do have that QR code posted. We did it for the 11th meeting. We got a new poster. We'll put those out there in almost every language known to man, especially those known in Rockport. We'll have those things posted. And I do encourage people to attend the public meetings because it is important. We're talking about a lot of different topics that's important to the citizens of Aransas County.
I do have one question, and I know everybody here probably has a smartphone, but there still are a lot of people who don't. Is there any way for them to do that, access that without using a QR code?
Their only other way would be go to the meeting.
I think there's actually a web address that you can type in that web address
Okay.
and then hit it, and it will take you to the survey.
Because as I said, I mean, I do QRs all the time, but I have friends who don't.
No, my husband doesn't do QR codes.
Oh, so you
Did
understand?
you have another,
I do, and that would be Brian Raska on the cashless situation.
Good morning. I'd like to talk to y'all about the going cashless proposal. I have a little background information. I've been with the Navigation District as a part-time employee for 8 years working at the booth. We have, the people that work at the booth have had a discussion over this and done a little impromptu survey just during our workings. And most people coming into it expect to carry cash here at the booth. They don't really see any need to go cashless. They come expecting to spend cash at the vendors, at the bait stands, and entering the booth. If we're going to do this, in our opinion, we need to go and do a public campaign instead of jumping right into it. There's so much misinformation out there. There's still websites that are saying we are $5 entry fee, $20 a year. Get the public informed. We don't see any way to speed up the process of entering the park, any way to do, that going cashless is gonna help us, actually. It's actually gonna impede us a little bit. But we just wanted to get our point across that we need to do this on a campaign to get it out to the public instead of jumping into it. And coming into our season that we're coming into, we really don't want to spring that on. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree on, we gotta get it under control so it works well. So, okay. Number one, approve the minutes of the January 14th, 2025 and January 27th, 2025. Ms. Loney,
So 27 is not prepared.
okay?
14 is ready for you to approve. Yes.
Anybody?
I would move approval of the minutes.
She's got one motion.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the minutes of Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approve ACND financial reports. We are going on a new report situation and look forward to having a little more transparency and really being able to know what's going on. Keith, what do you got for us?
well, as you can see, there's a lot more information here than what you normally have gotten. First, in your packet, if you look through about the first 10 or 12 pages, that is the true treasurer's report that we get from Alma, the county treasurer. That is pretty much her report in full. What you used to see from that report is some extrapolated information to make it a little more clear and abbreviated. But the request was you wanted to see the report in full, so we have provided that. The next report that you will see.
Can you pause just for a second,
Yes.
Keith? This is, I guess you could say, is my fault, because when I went to Alma and asked for what her report was, I got pages 1, 2, 3, and 4. I didn't get the detail. We don't need the detail. So I would say, going forward, just what she has in
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. They're in
And
the,
we can do that, but in efforts to be open, I was asked to give the entirety of the report, so from today's date, we can start scaling these things to more fit your need. But
Bingo.
for today's meeting, I was asked to bring the full meal deal, so that's what I brought.
well, when I printed this, I could hear Martin screaming at me from his office,
My ink.
I was gonna say,
and I apologize.
Well, good job, thanks, and look forward to carrying on with
Yes.
this good info across the
The
board.
next one is an AR aging report. It's quite lengthy. If you will see, the next front and back pages for the next two pages are just that.
You want to show what page is that on, any idea?
No, they kind of go
What does it
in.
look
We
like?
gotta pass this.
Oh, gotcha, oh, wow, that's a lot from Alma. Got it.
It's pretty self-explanatory. Who owes us, who doesn't, what their status is. We work this report pretty heavily to try to keep everybody up to speed. The next report that you will see is what we typically call our payable report. What in reality it is our check register. And what you have in right now is our full check register. Every check that is written, it has not been broken down. It is straight out of our system. It doesn't have all the real pretty little explanations and funny little detail that we tried to put in it. I would like to say if you have a question or two on some of these checks that have been written, just write the check number and get back with me and I will give you the more detail. I would like to say I have total recall over about 300 checks, but I will be overstating my memory acronym. So if there is anyone in particular or several that you have more questions on, I'd be happy to research and get you that detail. One of the things that was always asked was our payroll detail. It's in there. We did not split those out. In the past, between the city, the county, and the NAV district, that split generally caused a employee war, to be honest. So-and-so that does the same thing in the city makes 20 cents more than me or less than me, and everybody, that caused a lot of jumping back and forth and argument amongst all the entities on where they got. But if there's any employee, our group, if you want to know what someone makes, I have those records and you can look at that. That also comes down to even the commissioner's payroll. That is also in here. Those are all zero, but what you do have on this is a beginning balance and ending balance on those particular reports. One report that is missing is, and we're working on that, I hope we have that by the end of this week, is our amended budget and monthly report that backs up from our budget to our expenditures by month. We're working that. We just got a lot of stuff in, trying to finish up our end of the year. One of the things that you may not realize that takes a while to do is we take Alma's 50-page report and we extrapolate things for our ad valorem tax. And this is the working papers for that we end up adding to what that budget is. That's a lot of work to get on that, so that does take us a little time because that will end up being a journal entry into our system. But you will have that hopefully by the end of the week.
Which
And
one
then
is that, Keith?
That would be your amended budget where we'll update that each month as we expend funds out of each line item of the budget. You will see an ongoing accounting of that.
And we did get a copy of the budget, just not with anything added to it for
Exactly.
actions, okay.
Which is
But
great.
that's coming.
And the P&Ls to put those with.
And that will be on that report.
Well, that's a great showing. We appreciate the effort y'all have put in.
A lot of info. I think that's probably more info than the commission has requested in the last 50 years. And in saying that, I wanted to bring to all the board's attention and the public, the one who did these reports for over 40 years for the Aransas County Navigation District, Miss Robbie Andrew, who was basically everyone at the district's grandmother, passed away today.
Oh, man.
And so with heavy heart, all of us who worked with her over that length of time and the 40 years of service that she put into the district is well remembered today.
sad day.
I'd like to make a comment and a compliment. I know Ann worked, and for that matter, Janine, I'm sure you put a lot into this as well, to get reports that haven't been asked for a long period of time. And what I'm not only being complimentary, but a comment to the effect that everyone here is a QuickBooks report. So we didn't have to create it, with the exception of Alma's, which if we can just live with those 4 pages, I think that'll save some time. So we can get what we need with the push of a button now. Now, we do need to spend some time, and it may take a quarter, to get the accounts receivable scrubbed to where it's meaningful. And if we can do that in that period of time, I will be grateful.
Yes, and we're working on those, and like I said, thank you to my staff for working hard to really kind of change our reporting to the commission. And we'll continue to scrub those and get them to be the more useful information for you as time goes. But if you would, if y'all would accept the report you received today for this line item, I would appreciate that.
I like the accounts payable, the ones you have in the last part of the section. That's what I've been basically wanting to see on it. So the rest of the stuff, like I said, like Mr. Wright said, we'll be okay with those 3. But these other last sheets are good. I like to see those.
And we'll continue to try to, like you say, perfect these reports and get them to a way that y'all really want to see.
And if I can get them on my email, I'll be able to see it way ahead of time. I'm sitting there scrolling through all this stuff here. All I
on
saw
your
was
phone?
the distorted stuff. I thought, whoa, wait a minute. What
It's
is
a lot of information, enough to make your eyes go cross, but we're gonna try to
Yeah.
get this to you.
I was able to get 2 documents out that were attached. And that's the only 2 that I got.
Yeah.
This stuff I didn't.
That was only because the Google files. We had to, but that's the best way to do it. We just gotta get used to it. That's-
Yeah.
I had trouble too, but I
Mr.
took a deep breath.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with the amount of files that was sent on Friday, you may need an actual direct desktop, because it's just too big for a phone.
Yeah, we'll just eliminate the rest of the stuff.
Yeah,
Just
we're,
get this.
we're gonna dial it down.
It'll make it
We're on a
shorter,
good path.
make it easier to download.
Yes, yeah. I would
Mr. DeLeon, which pages were you referencing? Or you can show me later, just, let's not
The,
forget.
the,
Let's
the
hit that.
4
Let's keep
pages,
moving. We've got a
the 4
huge-
pages that you had discussed
Yes, sir.
with Alma, and then the last, pages on this booklet that we got,
The
where,
payables,
where we have the
Okay, got it.
payables on it.
check
Shows,
register really, is right?
shows where everything's going, all the money's going, those,
Got it.
those are fine, this
Yeah.
which is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets, the front and back,
Okay,
basically.
we're on the right track and we're
Yeah.
gonna dial it in and
great.
y'all can work with Keith and.
Well, I'll make a
that's
motion.
Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the financial reports.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. And thank you, Keith.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Good job, T.
And a big thank you to the staff. We know-
Good deal.
We know that they have worked really, really hard on this.
We know that they can do it now, so this is good.
Well, that was never a question.
Okay, this next item is a presentation of the 2024 Stormwater Legal and Engineering Work Review. We all talk about what we've had to spend to make sure things are done right in our community regarding stormwater, and we're making some great strides. And I wanted Tim Tuggy to come and give his position and where he sees it on what we've spent, on what and why, and just to give the public an idea of what this is really all about.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Yes, as Chairman Moore stated, what I've prepared, and each of you should have, is my attempt to condense 6 months of intensive work. As you know, I think you've probably had like 25 special meetings on this drainage issue on Concho. I've tried to condense this into a narrative of 2 pages, which I'm going to summarize, and then I think also included in the 3rd page a graphic display Excel sheet which has the sticker shock feature of over $400,000 expended on 9 different firms from the time period May 30th through December 31st. All that's laid out in detail month by month, So what I'd like to do is go back through now, hit the highlights. I don't want to read it to you, but hit the highlights of month to month, what you all authorized, what these professionals did, what you did, and then I'll bring it up to date even with a little addendum on what we did in January. I don't have numbers yet, but I can tell you what we did in summary. So first of all, and most importantly, in the big picture, pre-2024, you have an ongoing back and forth between the city and ACND with respect to drainage into Rockport Harbor. And all that history goes back to the 2002 Concho Street Drainage Plan the city did. Goes way back to a variety of discussions about that. Dredge in 2018 that the district did of Rockport Harbor. Coming to 2020, there's some tentative discussions of an agreement on Concho, all interrupted by Harvey. The city is delayed on construction of the Concho Street Drainage Plan. There's a problem with the contractor apparently for 2 years. In 2024, negotiations start back up between the district and the city. In the middle of 2024, and when I say negotiations, I mean how is Concho Street drainage going to flow into and what is the impact on Rockport Harbor? How's that going to work from a usage and compensation point of view? Those discussions go into impasse in May of 2024, and you'll see in this report on May 30th, the city notifies the district and provides notice of condemnation proceedings to condemn a portion of land here across Veterans Memorial Park that would allow them to permanently install culverts to bring that water under and into the harbor with a new drain field established, et cetera. That started effectively a legal proceeding. There's 2 notices required under condemnation notice. This was the first. And so with receipt of that, the ACND throughout June mobilized in response to that condemnation notice. It became very real that, okay, the district is potentially facing actual permanent condemnation of property that's under patent from the state of Texas to the district. And so an ensuing engagement of all these professionals took place. Conversations with the GLO took place. The district brought on civil and hydrological engineering, environmental, started the early process of a real estate appraisal in defense of the condemnation, a legal review, some early outreach to media. All that ramped up in June. And in July, the district commission received its initial reports from all those experts. Everybody did initial reports on where we were, what the status was, and 3 strategies began to emerge. One was to look hard at aggressive regulation and permitting of your own powers under stormwater discharge, which had heretofore never been addressed. There's actual direct provisions in the water code that empower you. To my knowledge, they had never been, in fact, we know they had never been formalized, picked up, and actually utilized. You looked at, obviously, whether or not you opposed and in fact determined at the time you wanted to defend against the condemnation. We had to get an appraisal going. And then we wanted to look at compliance by the city with respect to Concho and all the other projects. There were 7 projects the city did, 6 of which were federally funded north of here in Little Bay. This one was locally funded with a tax note. We looked at their compliance. In July, as a result of all that work, the district adopted its initial stormwater ordinance. And that was on July 3rd. On July 23rd, we sent a letter to the city inviting the formation of a stormwater working group. And you have a copy of that letter in your file. So even at that point, obviously, we're still hoping to reopen the discussions. Unfortunately, in August, as you can see by my highlighted report, the district gets a second notice of condemnation. Now, after a second notice of a bona fide offer and condemnation, within 15 days after that notice, the notifying party has the right to commence legal action, actually file a lawsuit to commence condemnation. So the urgency picked up here. The district finalized its initial appraisal in defense of the condemnation at that time. And basically, we continue sort of this approach of all hands on deck to get ready for that possibility and look at alternatives. In September 2024, the district sent initial notices of a violation of our ordinance to the city. And in that notice, we also proposed a 90-day free permit if they would, under our ordinance, if they would simply provide us a copy of the current plans for Concho drainage, the Concho drainage plan. Simultaneously, we're doing outreach to the Ports Association, understanding how they're utilizing power that they have. We're looking at city compliance under HUD and TCEQ. The commission authorized notices to HUD based upon our understanding that there was a problem with the city's compliance in Rockport Harbor with respect to that project. And you can see by the narrative a number of other items. We also ramped up for public engagement. In October, you held your first public forum on all of the issues, providing a full report to the public about all the substance of your environmental reports, your engineering reports, and your legal reports. And you started then also a cost of use analysis. So in November, after the forum, you received your first full briefing. I remember sitting in this room with a draft of a potential lawsuit petition. It's under state law. You looked at that petition in detail. We still have it. It's still filed away for further knowledge. You, at that time, determined not to proceed with litigation, but instead reintroduced ideas of compromising. We had an interlocal draft. We started the process back and forth, went back to the city with another version of an agreement, all in an effort to seek compromise with the city on Concho. And then switching over into December, with nothing finalized with the city on the compromise, you adopted a cost of service rate for Rockport Harbor, $204,000 a year to do all the dredge and all the other admin. By the way, that's just a cost of service. You didn't send any notices to the city about that. You just adopted it. Similarly, you remember that in this month, January of this month, you received a cost of service estimate from your engineer on Little Bay. So those are done and in your file. Later in December, we start receiving some reaction. You all can talk about this later, but you receive some reaction and response from the city, and henceforth, we've begun the process, we hope, of actually achieving a compromise with respect to Rockport Harbor. In January, as I mentioned, you received a cost of use study on Little Bay for all the cost of dredge and all the ancillary costs. You also commented formally on the city's renewal application for its wastewater permit that affects Little Bay. So that is a summary of all the work that's occurred through the end of December with a footnote about January. I'm available for your questions.
I'd like to say that what we have done with the team has brought a lot of information that was needed to begin an expanded drain field in Concho, and prepared us to defend the environment and the bays that we have been chartered to do. And the good news in doing that, we have come to a good point, and we'll talk about that next.
Mr. Chairman, I want to echo that in that two observations I would make. Number one, you're going to be out looking for money to do a diversion, we hope. We're near getting an agreement done with the city. Part of that agreement talks about a long-term diversion. Part of the monies you've spent here, I believe, will go towards local match for state and federal grant money that might be used to develop a diversion here and in Little Bay. The other thing is, you have acquired in this process a tremendous amount of information about the impacts of flow into your jurisdiction. And in the process have also stood up for the first time, the district's been around since forever, for the first time, your regulatory authority, what your powers are. And I think you've already shown your discretion. You could very well have taken this much further. I have stood here and recommended it at times, or talked about it at least, and you've shown a great amount of discretion, compromise, willingness to work with an investment that will serve you well for a long time to come, I think. So,
And I want to point out that Aransas Bay was just designated as an impaired body of water for the first time. And I'm not saying that it's all because of the Concho or all because of Thule, but it's becoming critical, and it's really important that we start doing things right, and I think we're on the right track. So, any other questions? Okay, no action required. 4 and 5 should kind of be put together. It's on the drainage issue, so I'm just going to skip 4 and go to 5. Deliberation on issues to stormwater drainage within the waters of the ACND jurisdiction, including limits, permits, discharges, permitting fees, rate analysis, potential agreements with the county, city, and other entities on the drainage. As we mentioned, we've come to a real good point. I'm very excited. I want to commend Commissioner Vlasic and Commissioner Wright for their efforts and where we've gotten it to today, as well as Commissioner De Leon, who jumped in early and brought a little sanity to the negotiations. So we're real close. Basic framework is that the entities get together. We come up with a solution. The ACND has offered to find the money. We think we've located it already to get stormwater pollution protection into the Concho Street drainage situation. And we will continue to push forward to find solutions to be evaluated by the Stormwater Technical Committee. And when the Technical Committee brings their recommendations and each entity agrees and to where we want to go, what technology and how we're going to do it and what it's going to do, we all agree to it, and the agreement says that the city can then receive a license to put their pipe into Rockport Harbor, with a big part of it, and my understanding the process has already started, that when we get going with the TERS and can find some good money at a good rate, that we redirect that to Aransas Bay directly, and just pretty much clean up any sediment that we have going into Rockport Harbor. And the big deal is sediment. Costs money to get sediment out of your navigation ways, and that's what this is all about. So, anybody have any other input on that?
Last night, plus or minus 10 o'clock, Ms. Vlasic and I got an email from Vanessa Schroner asking for the most recent red line version. Did that occur, or has it occurred today?
not yet, sir. It will after.
We
Discuss it in closed.
We'll have that after, we're gonna discuss this in closed, and then we'll be able to send her that.
Very good.
Under
I
real
just-
estate negotiations.
Because we had a couple of items that were
and
still under discussion, and I thought, I wanted to be sure we had those nailed down with the agreement of everybody, and that'll go to her ASAP after the meeting.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna table this?
Yeah.
We're gonna table it till after the
Continue it on.
closed, yes.
Motion that they, we can
Do
just.
you have a question?
Jeff?
Mr. Moore, I've overheard a conversation. Has the county agreed to help with any of this cost?
I've been in touch with the judge, and they have a plan, and what we're hoping to do, we have started the process to get multiple engineering firms to present a high-level technology based on parameters submitted to them, how much water, what the land to use, how it all works, and then we're gonna get a big overview for everybody to evaluate, and once we kind of get dialed in on that. At the same time, Keith mentioned a couple meetings ago, we have one engineer left out of our engineering pool that is required by the granting entities to have a qualified list of engineers that we can pick from to engineer solutions that could get paid for by public funds outside of the district. And we have asked to be able to piggyback on the counties, which they've done all the work, it's there. We're working with the county attorney to get our name on that so that we don't have to replicate that. And most of these big projects we do anyway, we do with the county. It's just hand in hand.
This particular project especially, you know, there may be some county land involved. We have multi-jurisdictional drain fields. So it needs to be a very cohesive and broad project.
Yeah, and I've worked with the judge, I've talked to a couple of the commissioners, and everybody seems on board and wants to get it done. It's exciting, feeling really good about where we're going, so.
I'm not completely clear on what the Stormwater Management Committee's role in this. Can you tell me that, Keith?
A little bit. The Stormwater Committee was really first brought in to really talk about, you know, not just this particular drainage in what we would call Old Rockport, but future expansion of drain fields all over the county and how it's going to impact each one of those entities. The role of that is when a project is being introduced or out for permitting, we would get those prints, we'd throw it on a big table, and everyone in the technical committee could basically look at it and say, this is good, this is bad, to try to refine these projects to be the least impactful for our community. And that has really been the function and focus of that group, is to gather information that may have only historically been within the county or been within the city or been with the navigation. So everyone, because this impacts so many of the groups, for us on the nav side, we usually only feel the impact when the water shoots out of the pipe at the end of the line. But that water went through a lot of different areas, and each one of these entities need to have a say in how that's going to impact their particular jurisdiction. That is why that Stormwater Committee was put together, and I think as we continue and as our community and our peninsula continues to grow, that will become more and more important. And this is kind of really one of our first, I guess you'd say, the trial balloon that goes up to see how is this gonna work. And right now, having everybody on the same page and everybody talking about projects is a positive.
Projects and standards, I was involved early in the game, and it was talking about standards and best practices and how best to do these things. And what we have seen as a result is a lot better adhesion to best practices to eliminate stormwater pollution. And we've just had to work real hard to bring in one of the entities, and we're close to that. So it's been very effective. It was just recently restructured somewhat, and each entity, Fulton County, Rockport, and ACND, have a technical representative, an engineer, somebody knows the most about it, and then an alternate, which could be a politician or anybody else that we designate to represent. And the idea was, as Keith mentioned, you bring in any project, and in our ordinance, we reference this, that the Stormwater Technical Committee will have a single application for a developer, no matter how big it is, and that will come in, and all the questions that each entity feels is important will be answered in that, and then the technical committee goes in, looks at it, makes recommendations to the entities, and the entities vote on it and approve it and carry on. Once again, that ordinance, if you do your best with best practices that are acceptable, there will be no issues as far as having to pay usage fees. It's just a matter of bringing things in to just try to help.
Aransas Pass is also part of the
Yes.
revised.
Oh, good.
They weren't active in the past, but they have been very active with the new.
They've
And
been
I think
included.
that's gonna be very important going down the line, because we've got some
I think Aransas Pass has always been part of the
They weren't
stormwater.
included, they did not participate. Now they are participating.
No, they have in the past participated. At one time, I was their representative. on the
You are
stormwater.
now.
You might have been the last.
Still are.
Participant
Everybody
for
step
a
back.
while.
He's still
Anyway.
on, Judy. We just wanted you to know.
I wanted to make things, I'm gonna break this down, we've had a lot of discussion here. The basic agreement is that we are hopefully gonna have signed today with the city, or probably maybe tomorrow, is that we will procure, there will be an engineer procured, and there will be a plan developed to mitigate the stormwater. And once both sides approve that, we're not gonna require that it be installed, but as soon as that is approved by both sides, we will let the city connect Concho Street drainage.
All three sides, the county has to sign on to.
Okay, but that's basically, and I mean, part of this is, and I'm not gonna say Martin initially came to us and he said, you know, guys, a lot of my constituents are in this drain field, we need to figure this out. And so it started last summer with a large group meeting with representatives from each entity, and we've gone from there, and I've had more meetings and lots of meetings, but I think we're there. I think we're there.
Getting close. Okay, let's move on. Number 6, consider possible action, approval of the 2023 audit engagement letter from Adamson and Company. Keith?
Yes, you have in your packet a pretty thorough engagement letter. I would like to see this group retained. They worked on our last audit that is very complicated with all of our FEMA-related projects. But yes, I know this has been in your packet, so if we could get a positive vote on that, we can start moving this forward.
Well, I think for public knowledge, as well as I think we all understand it, that while it's the same people, it's not the same firm on the letter.
Right.
And we don't want to be confused or confusing people with that regard. Collier, Johnson and Woods severed their audit function, period, sold it, gave it, whatever, to Adamson and Company. And so that audit function, while it's the same people, has a different name on the letterhead.
Correct.
And unless anybody has difficulty with that, it's the same team. So,
And on that note, after reviewing this engagement letter, it seems exorbitant for the fact that they have been through the 2022. We've spent over $200,000 over 2023 and 2024 trying to get our accounting in line so that it would not take this long to do these things. The thing that disturbs me the most is the payment that this board approved was not from the firm that we engaged, but from Adamson. And we have no engagement with Adamson. It was an $18,000 payment.
That is when the firms basically broke, when Collier Johnson basically got out of the audit business. They're just doing tax and so associated work, and Adamson picked up that side. We did pay the first firm their requested amount. The last bit, we did get an invoice from Adamson for the final version. It'll be up to you whether you approve that. We had an approval at a previous meeting, but that was to Collier Johnson's, but actually who did the work was the final part of Adamson.
So the $18,000 is going to Adamson, or it's going?
That's who invoiced us.
Okay, and we have no engagement, and what I would like to do is pull up on this and ask Mr. Tuggy to contact them and get the required information for us to pay another firm other than the firm we are engaged in. And also, I would like to ask Commissioner Wright to look into some other firms that would be qualified. That amount is out of control. I realize we are not in compliance with our bond situation for 2023. 2024 is not an issue at this point, but to engage in this right now seems very irresponsible from what I have seen and the money we've spent on this. And even just that payment needs to be looked into. So I would appreciate discussion on it.
Whether we pay that extra 18 that they billed us, that's aside from a 2023 engagement. I think because of the in-depth nature, that is why this engagement letter is quite so lengthy. They're trying to cover themselves with any questions. I think they're just trying to do their due diligence to make sure that they've got themselves covered. And as you said, it's under the umbrella of a new firm, so maybe they just do things just a little bit differently as far as their engagement letter is concerned. But the longer we put these things off, the harder it is to make these deadlines.
Wait.
What we're talking about is $55,000 for a financial statement audit, which is basically going over our information. The single audit that will be required for our federal grants is another $15,000, that's $70,000. And then the statement preparation, which is my understanding, the report that we get at the end could be another $17,500. That's out of control for 300 transactions a month. In my book, and
It's
I think we need to look
including
into it.
all of the FEMA stuff, and our biggest year for FEMA was
Here.
23.
And that should all be concise and in a single place. I just think we need to look into it. It's irresponsible to spend that much money compared to what we've been spending over the years and not look into this. And there's more. I'd rather not go into it right now, but I do not think we should approve this right now. I think we need to look into that payment. We need to get some other ideas. And Mr. Wright, if you're willing, let's get that done expediently.
Well,
I didn't ask him if I could. I told him I was gonna suggest that he do it.
may I speak?
Please.
First off, your question to me and my agreement to your question was next year audit, not this year. I would look at additional firms to see what it would cost going forward. Now, having said that, I think we do need to approve this letter because we have delayed and delayed and delayed, and let's face it, a good portion of this audit and the expense of the last one was of our own doing.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's not condemn the firm for the work they have to do to figure out what we've been doing.
I'm not condemning the firm at all.
Yes, that's
Come
what
in.
it sounds like.
Okay, I'm one vote. If you guys want to commit to that kind of money for this type of operation, that's up to you.
Here's what I'll tell
I
you.
don't think it should be done, and without looking, all we have to do is look. And by the way, the district is strong. Our position is very, very strong. And what Adam Miller, the head CPA, came and said was it took so long to get the other one, and it was so expensive because they had trouble getting information from us. And so there was a lot of wait time, and he was, most of the expense, and correct me if I'm wrong, we can go back and look at the video, the expense was starting and stopping every time they couldn't get information and get information. I just think that something's not right here, and we've spent a ton of money to get everything right, and they've looked into these things, and that's my position, and y'all can make a motion, and
Judy's got something to say.
I'll vote
No, I'm
the
not.
way I vote. Y'all vote the way
I
you
agree
vote.
with Jack. I think we need to go, yes, the amount of money is large. It's a much, the report that we got from Adam, the audit, was much more in-depth than we've ever had, at least twice the size that we had before. Jack, if you'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve this, I'll second it.
I'd like-
Let me set
Yes,
the
sir,
thing.
go ahead.
This amount, to me, if we're gonna go this amount, we need to get, go out for bids for some
No,
auditors.
you know what?
Next
This-
year.
Hold on, just a minute. The next time,
Next time.
next time.
Yes, sir. Well, that's the point, is he's asked me to look into additional firms.
Right.
And see what next year's 2024 audit.
He's already stuck his foot on this one here. He already knows what we got coming.
Well, allow me to explain a couple of things, please. The firm of Collier Johnson Woods was asked to come in and take a 99% completed audit and start over. That's one of the reasons it was so expensive. The second thing is, and I'll step out there and tell you that, as I said, and I'll say it publicly in this meeting, this organization has always waited until the end of the year financially to do anything. Nothing's done month by
The
month
middle.
up to this point. The reports that you saw this morning, that you got on Friday, will allow us to start looking at the financial functions of this company before the 12th month.
Yeah.
And that will get better and easier and cleaner as we go. It's not gonna get fixed in one audit. But yes, they wrote into this because they billed us for an additional $18,000, which frankly, they probably had rights to bill us for as much as $40,000, but they didn't.
And one of the things that I have a problem with is their bills and their request was a percentage of what they were gonna recover in the hours that they spent, but they say no hours, they say no money other than the final amount. It's all a percentage to get us to this percentage. And I just think something's fishy, and y'all do what you want.
Well, may I explain that percentage? I'm sorry.
Could we,
Judy.
could we table this and discuss this? during
Tell you what,
this?
let me make the motion that we hire Adamson and Company, the former name of Collier Johnson and Woods Audit Team, to conduct the 2023 audit.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? That's supposed to be your line.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and under the same agenda item.
So we have three
Mr.
ayes.
Long. Mr. Wynn, under that same, I would like to approve that Mr. Tuggy contact Collier Johnson and Woods and get to the bottom of the different engagements and make sure that it's proper for us to do that.
Oh, I see your point.
So, if not, with no objection,
It's only money.
we'll direct him to look into that and perfectly willing to pay. We know they spend a lot of time. We know why they spend a lot of time, and I've got no problem with that. It's just a little bit strange that we are gonna pay $18,000 to somebody we don't have a contract with. So, all right, that passes, and,
What was the final?
and mine is no, by the way.
What was the final vote? Show of hands?
He never asked.
Aye.
4 ayes and a nay.
I don't see. Was that for Martin?
Martin, what is your?
Is that an aye or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Get it over with.
Aye.
Okay. The process
We'll
works.
see what happens next time.
Okay, consider possible action request to nominate and to vote for an ACND representation on the Aransas County Appraisal District Board of Directors. The Aransas County Appraisal District, appraises all the property, gets all the values set, and then we all pay our taxes. We are by statute able to, no, I've got it where it's condensed here somewhere. Anyway, so that we can nominate a board member, and we can vote on all the board members. And all we have to do to get into that routine is submit a letter to request to be able to do that, to vote, and put a nominee forward by June 1st, I believe it is.
Yeah, it was June.
And then we submit a nominee by July 15th, and then when the new board members are up for discussion, the district gets to vote on all of the nominees for the board. So it's just, basically, we have to write a letter to participate for, as far as I know, the first time in the board for the appraisal district. And Mr. Oker, did you want to talk about something on that?
Who's that?
Good morning. My name is Matt Oker. I reside at 208 Duckhaven. And I want to start off by saying I am on the CAD board currently. And I do not represent the CAD board today in my capacity here. I've not been authorized or empowered by the board to say anything for or against. But as a citizen, I am 100% in support of y'all's action on this. I think all of the entities need to take back their statutory participation rights. I don't know what prompted this. I do know that last month I went before the Commissioner's Court and I did make an offhand comment that none of us were actually legally appointed to that board. It's in violation of the statute 6.03 of the property tax code. So I do support y'all having a say in this. I believe government is done best when there's a collaboration. I believe in a push and pull. I believe that the differing of ideas, we've all just witnessed it. And let's be very frank here. One of the things that has been missing is painfully clear if you peruse the minutes of the previous board meetings of the Aransas County Appraisal District. There weren't these kinds of discussions. Quite frankly, a lot of things that required board action legally to even have a legal effect were not taken. Those actions were not taken in board meetings. Presidents of the CAD board acted unilaterally in conjunction with the chief appraiser and changed things that had to do with all of us who pay taxes, had to do with more money coming out of our pockets. I can go through some of those things at a later date if y'all like to, and I welcome all of y'all. Contact me personally. I'm available pretty much any time. I would love to discuss all of the things that I've witnessed in my short time on the board. I think I've been on there since May. And I have some ideas moving forward of how to improve that board. But there's a lot of things really to talk about. It's for 25 years, I've been told by various elected officials that it doesn't matter who's on the CAD board. I used to go to city council meetings and I used to rail against, the guy that represented the most affluent part of town. Whoever was in that seat on city council was automatically on the CAD board. And it was just amazing how there were low anomalies in those neighborhoods when it came to assessments. I did a very pervasive 600-hour study one year on my own time that ferreted that out, and the local press wouldn't even touch it. But I used to go up there and you go to YouTube, type my name in, you can see the videos, they're still there. But it's amazing how now that we have people who are, let's just say, taxpayer advocates or taxpayer champions, which I unabashedly am. I think it's a sin that we have property taxes to begin with. It's a terrible taxation system. But if we're going to have the system, I'm not in Austin, I'm not the governor, I don't get to mandate that. But if we're going to have a system, it should be fair and it should be legal. And under the law, we are charged with holding a system that is fair, that follows the guidelines, that follows the statutes, that doesn't target certain people, doesn't give favors to certain people outside of statutory authority. But it's amazing how now that we have these taxpayer advocates getting on the CAD board, and it's happening all around the state, now all of a sudden it matters who's on these CAD boards. Before it was a procedural position and all they did was hire the chief appraiser and set a few policies for the office. Well, luckily, I am on the board, and I had the discussion before my nomination. I went and talked to Judge Garza, and I explained to him I was not interested in being on a board that was not going to perform its statutory functions and duties. We have wrested our statutory authority as a board away from the chief appraiser. There were a lot of things that were just being done unilaterally by him that he was not authorized to do. It was the board's prerogative to do. And understand these CAD boards are they're a bit different animal. It's the only board that I can think of at the county level where we are the citizen oversight. I voiced my opinion in a meeting. We just had a meeting yesterday afternoon. I voiced my opinion that I do not support elected officials serving on the CAD board. Statutorily and legally, they can do so. Y'all could nominate a member of your panel to be on that CAD board. If that's your choosing, I would serve alongside that person, but I understand philosophically I oppose that. I think this is an opportunity for the citizens to have oversight of a very important professional function that has been actually taken away from the county. If you look at the history, the legislative history, back in the day, every single entity used to do their own assessments. And then in the early 80s, this system was devised by the legislature to take that power away so you didn't have disparate assessments. So I believe it's an important function. I believe that we need to have serious people on that board that take the job seriously. We don't need that. There's been plenty of rubber stamps. There's probably a whole office closet somewhere there full of rubber stamps because there were a bunch of those in the past. Our board is not a rubber stamp. We have deliberations just like y'all engaged in. Everyone on there is serious. And if y'all want to do a future agenda item, I'd be more than happy to come back before you guys and discuss anything you'd like to discuss, because I believe this is that important. And I welcome each of you to go back and view some of our past meetings. They should all be on YouTube now. And I look forward to, if I decide that I want to, I'm up at the end of this year, and I hope to gain your confidence and consideration for your votes as you apportion them. But to wrap it all up, as I started, I do support y'all taking your initiative on this, and look forward to hearing the deliberation about who y'all portion your votes to. Y'all have any questions for me?
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Good morning.
So we're what I was hoping to get is board approval to issue this letter to be able to get involved and be part of it for the first time. And, as everything comes down to, the statutes and pulls it back together, that we do have a say in how those things go. So,
I would move approval for you to engage that letter.
A second?
got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who was the second?
Julie.
I'm lost again. Okay. Consider upon number 8, consider possible action to present an amendment to the master services agreement between ACND and GNW Engineering. This action will extend the agreement through December 31st, 2025, and is related to FEMA project 4683-4438 Cove Harbor Bait Stand. Mr. Barrett.
Yes. GNW has been, our engineer, really, one of two, since the hurricane. We did the procurement, we chose those and divvied out these projects. This is the last one of the projects that we need attention to. But the master service agreement, I guess, no one in their right mind would have thought that we would still be dealing with these type of projects this many years after that storm made landfall. And I used to speak pretty ill of seeing these other hurricane ravaged areas, saying, why did it take them so long? But I can tell you, I'm in the middle of it, and I realize these things are very arduous, and we need to go ahead and extend a GNW for this extended time so we can continue on this project. The other engineer that we had on these projects was Mott McDonald, and as everyone knows, they kind of pulled out of the state of Texas. They're more in Florida, so it just would not be advantageous for us to extend them as well. So today I would just ask if I could get a vote to extend their contract.
One question, Keith.
Yes.
Do you think the project will be finished by December 31st of this year?
Yes.
Oh, I hope before
We're
that.
going to have a pre-construction meeting a little bit later, I think it's next week, isn't it? This week, to start that project, so we will be more than complete. It's just to extend it to the end of the year would make sense.
I would move approval to extend it to December 31st, 2025.
Second.
And that's basically just getting us so we can have the required oversight on the project, correct?
Design, oversight, all the things.
Oh, they haven't designed it.
Oh, yeah, we have the design. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
we're
just
gonna
to
do
continue on.
Just to continue.
And
This is just paperwork.
But I thought the project was starting like as soon as we signed the contract like several months ago.
Nope.
Can we get the quorum, let the president ask for a motion rather than just jump into it, please?
we're all good with this, I'd like to get some comments and statements before we vote. And once again, we are by law required to have oversight by the engineer on any project over 20 grand?
Yes.
And this basically gives
50
us that. Keith could get this finished out
It
by
is
the
50.
design, no problem at all, but we're required.
The issue, some of that was long, once we approved to go forward with the plan, then y'all approved the plans, then we went into an issue over, the elevation of the project, materials of the project. That was never an ADA compliant area, we had to get it ADA compliant. We had to hit every single, milestone to make sure this thing gets approved, and it takes time. But if we allow their contract to expire, then we can't, get our reimbursements for their work. So they have to be under contract, so reimbursements are eligible. That's
And
why
these are
it takes
FEMA.
so long, is
These are
because
FEMA.
it takes so much time, and we have to jump through so many hoops to get those reimbursements.
Yeah, but
Been
you
there,
can't-
done that.
But you can't, you can't start now because the spring coming in, springtime coming in, the summer, where all everybody making money.
That's why
you
we're
gotta
starting
slow it
quickly.
down.
Showtime. Okay,
Your turn.
all in favor?
Wait, Martin's right.
You're
You
asking
didn't
for a
ask
motion?
for a motion, I jumped out there and made a motion.
Okay, we'll go for that, I kinda liked it. Great, I like to.
Put you to work?
If somebody has a motion
That's what you
to
got hired
consider possible action approval for the amendment for GNW Engineering on the Cove Harbor Bait rates.
I'd like to make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it. It's in my precinct.
Thank you, Commissioner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good job. Deliberate possible action by request made, Ms. Sharon Laughlin of Fulton Oyster Fest, thank you, Ms. Laughlin, to utilize the ACND roads located in Fulton Park, February 26, 25 through March 12, 2025. This request relates to the 46th annual Fulton Oyster Fest to be held March 6 through March 9, 2025. Mr. Barrett.
Well, Fulton Oyster Fest is an event that kind of goes without saying. It's been around, like you say, for 46 years. Fulton Harbor and all the businesses around Fulton Harbor are definitely impacted, but it's probably one of our bigger events in Aransas County. And I would ask the board to go ahead and approve the closure of those roads and the use of the areas around Fulton Harbor.
Motion to approve Oyster Fest use of our roads.
I move that we approve Fulton Oyster Fest use of our roads.
I'll
as
second
presented.
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Go Oyster Fest.
Consider possible action to approve a request by the Texas Maritime Museum to utilize the Laurel Street Festival grounds on May 22nd, 2025 and May 24th, 2025. Patron party and wine festival respectively. For parking, this request includes the closure of Chamber Drive from Loop 70 to Navigation District, Navigation Circle, and permission to sell and consume beer and wine. Mr. Barrett.
Yes. Again, the Maritime Museum's Wine Festival is a great event. They mainly use the festival ground as parking. One of the reasons why they always request to close Chamber is so their patrons can walk back and forth across that street without having to worry about oncoming traffic. It just makes the area much safer. So, again, I would request that you would approve their.
I have a question on this.
Yes.
On their letter that says the 22nd and the 24th, what happened to the 23rd?
It just.
They skip a day. It opens a day later. They have the patron
Yeah.
party.
It's
So,
a night before.
is it a sober day on the 23rd?
Well, I'm just glad that they're keeping alive drinking in the parking lot. Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Motion to approve the use of the festival grounds by the Maritime Museum for their wine
I'll
festival.
make that motion.
Festivity. Got a motion?
Go ahead, Jack.
I'll second it. Thanks, Martin.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Deliberate possible action, a request from First Baptist Church of Rockport to utilize the grounds behind the ACND office building to host their Easter sunrise service on April 20th, 2025. I believe they do that very often.
Well, they split between the festival grounds and the behind our building. Each one who is kind of in charge of the service that particular year kind of has their preferences. But those who like to do it behind the building, they really like it because the speakers can be up on the back porch and everybody else is out in the grass with their lawn chairs with the beautiful sunrise right behind them. If you haven't been, it's a nice experience, so I would invite everyone to come to Easter sunrise service if y'all approve their event.
I do have a question.
Yes.
On the second paragraph, it said it was necessary to use an electrical outlet inside. We don't have an outside outlet there?
No, we don't. That was done by choice because when you have electrical outlets close by,
Anybody
some,
think?
I would say undesirables tend to come and plug in everything known to man. So we made that pretty much outlet free.
Okay.
So I'll probably
Good
get
point.
here a little early, run a extension cord out the back door and let them have some loudspeakers, and then when it's over, we'll.
You could have actually had a locked box back in there when it made.
That's true.
And I welcome anyone to go see how the southeast side of this building has taken a pounding since initial construction. And we will hopefully get started on some restoration and painting, but it gets eaten up.
The
Probably some
elements are
addition,
hard
too.
on.
I was gonna say that side
Plastic
of the main house.
rusts around here, so. Motion to approve the First Baptist Church to
I'll make that
utilize the
motion.
grounds behind the
Second
ACND office.
motion.
Judy made a motion.
I'll second.
Got a
Okay.
motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 12, consider possible action for an additional request from the city of Rockport to close Chamber Drive during the 4th Annual Kite Festival, which was approved January 27, 2025 by the commission. This request will enable the expansion of space for kite flyers on the Laurel Street Festival grounds. Mr. Barrett.
Yes, this time of year, it's great for flying kites, but you never know which way the wind direction is going to come from. At times, we have to set the kites up over by the highway if the wind's out of the north and the kites fly back over the grounds, or if it's out of the southeast, the kites are staked out along Seabreeze Drive and the kites fly back over the grounds. What they're asking to do is close Chamber so they can set up their vendors, their food trucks and things like that along that stretch. And so it doesn't matter which way the wind's blowing, they're not underneath the flight pattern of the kites. So it's not only safe for the kite flyers, but also the patrons that show up. So I thought Brittany's idea of asking to close and be able to put those things along there would be quite helpful for them.
In perfect Rockport tradition, I don't know the name of the streets. I just know the landmarks, and I've always thought that was really cool around here. Which one of these is
That is the
Chamber?
one between the Maritime Museum and the festival ground.
And we called it Chamber and the other one?
Yeah, it's Chamber.
Chamber Drive.
Okay.
So we'll block off here, and the food trucks and things can be there. So it doesn't matter if the kites are flying back this way or flying back this way. It's a little more safer for all those who attend. And then they don't have to worry about changing the setup of the vendors in the middle of the event.
And that is just a really cool event. If y'all haven't been there, it is impressive. And,
I've been there
does a lot.
we've been there one time and the wind stopped right there.
Nobody's pissed me off yet.
I'm good.
Part of the deal there. All right, motion to approve the closing of Chamber Street.
I move that we approve the Chamber's, the request.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What?
Pardon?
The 12th.
April 12th.
April 12th.
2025. One of the best days ever. That's my birthday.
Really?
It's gonna
I
rain.
think so.
It's gonna rain.
What was the date again, Mr. Moore?
April 12th?
12. Happy birthday. Thanks, Pat, that was a good question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have lightning too, but.
Okay, the next one is one we all just love around here because it costs us so darn much money. Deliberate and possible action to consider approval renewal of the 2025-2026 Regional Pool Alliance insurance rate. Mr. Barrett.
Yes. They gave us, a quote that's always a little staggering, but it's to cover $15,256,129 worth of properties. They also cover some properties that most other carriers will not cover. And I would ask that we go ahead and approve this renewal.
It is all the properties,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Does not include piers and pilings.
no.
You can't insure those.
Keith and I met with Blake McDavid 2 weeks ago and went over this and went over the integrity of the Pool Alliance and what they are doing and can we count on them. He risked my concerns and this is actually a little less.
A little bit, but
Yeah.
that's still a lot of zeros on
Yeah,
that,
which
on
was
that
very
check.
surprising. But they are solid and some of the things that have been swirling around seem not to truly be an issue. And we'll keep real close tabs on that to make sure we're covered, so.
Well, as y'all remember, the carrier that we had during Harvey, they canceled us about the time the wind quit blowing.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we're as in good hands as we can pray for.
Absolutely. Between them and FEMA did a great job, as well as Mr. Barrett leading the construction and recovery. We got more done than anybody in getting our assets back online so that this community could continue to prosper with all of our facilities. So with that, a motion to approve the 2025-2026 billing for the Regional Pool Alliance.
So moved.
Second it.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This is an interesting. Deliberate and possible action for the ACND to participate in Aransas County project HMGP DR 4332069 TDM sub-award agreement for Little Bay Drainage Improvements Phase 2. This project has an anticipated local funding contribution of $1,140,277. Mr. Barrett.
I don't even really know where to start on this one. As all of you know, Mott McDonald designed and researched Little Bay on the flow patterns and things like that.
To the tune of $1.2 million.
Yes, they did. Everything you ever wanted to know about water flow but was afraid to ask. But what that did tell us is the two openings that we have that lead out into Aransas Bay, which is Leggett Channel, which carries the lion's share of the water out, and Blevins Channel, do have issues. The issues is we're trying to push more water out those holes than can accept. This was supposed to be an idea of how we could increase or help the flow. Their design came up with how to just protect the structures in which the flow goes through. That is to put rocks along all the shoreline of those outflows, and a mat or pad of stone underneath the Key Allegro Bridge. While it will protect those structures some from underscoring, what it doesn't do is help the flow. In fact, it inhibits the flow. And that is a big match for the district to have to come up with.
Hello?
Nice work, Tim.
So it doesn't improve our exiting water strategies. It basically inhibits that in some ways.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Who pointed that out?
Everybody who saw it at the end. We were always kind of held off at arm's length on this. We were not involved with the engineers. We were not involved with the studies, though this board asked many, many times to be included. So at this point, because I think it would cause more harm than good, and restrict the amount of flow going out, basically causing more overtopping and scouring of other areas that was not damaged, I would ask that you do not enter into this construction phase 2 project.
With McDonough?
And we would have to, on top of that, I didn't even mention this, we will have to go out and re-procure an engineer to basically do the oversight and whatever changes that would come about because of Mott McDonald's exodus out of our area. So we would have to go through another federal procurement process to find an engineer. That is quite costly and time consuming.
Won't what we're asking for, though, to be in conjunction with the county on this, cover that? Or at least
No.
give us a pool?
Well, it would give us a pool, but we'd have to lay
Engage
out
and
what
start
this
over,
is.
right.
Because they've already done a lot of the design. And as you know, when you try to change an engineer in the middle of a project, everyone wants to say, well, that may be great, but it's not us.
That's right.
So I would probably say that they would be pretty standoffish about wanting to join in on a project that had nothing to do with the design.
I also want to point out that they came up with 3 possible solutions, and I call it price performance. I don't remember what they call it, but it has.
Cost-benefit analysis.
Cost-benefit analysis. And what that does is what a granting entity do you have? It's a grid and pros and cons, and does this match? One that was considered was another opening at the south end of Little Bay to get that done. And do you remember the other one, Keith?
There were some that
Oh,
were.
widening and deepening of Leggett,
Yeah, both the channels, which nobody.
which would be quite costly.
It's very costly. And the biggest thing that struck me on this was,
Weren't there also some underneath the roads?
Oh, yeah,
On
there
the
was,
bay
there
side.
was a lot of them.
what struck me on this was that when you line a channel with rocks, how the hell are you gonna dredge it? And it gets silted in, and it would take a lot. and any of our passes around here get silted in, and you can't dredge it. I mean, or it's gonna cost a hell of a lot more to dredge it. So, I also agree that we back off on this. Have we received the study, the solid study? We've asked for it for a long, long time.
We have, I just got that.
Okay, good.
Is that the Mott McDonald?
Yeah, and I haven't got the printout of the actual plans, but this is really for the benefit of the county. We need to let the county know if we intend on moving forward with this. If not, so they can back away and basically retract their partnership with this. It's only right, we can't just let this go on forever. But in my opinion, it didn't do what the original intention was.
Also, just the in-depth of the flow study, or all the outfalls, all the depths, everything that you could possibly find out about Little Bay is in that study, and it gives us a lot of valuable information going forward. So, I didn't like it at first, but now that it's been done, let's use it, so.
Could I ask that could we all see that and get a copy
Yeah,
of that study?
we'll get all that too.
And maybe have time to review? I mean, is it going to hurt anything if we delay this for 2 to 4 weeks? Because we have some new commissioners who've not seen that study. I think Tommy and I are
You can
the ones who
table it
have.
for a vote at a future meeting.
Will that be?
Jerry?
Yeah,
Your input?
Obviously, you have the right to delay the vote. The question is, does it make any difference?
sounds good. Motion to table is where we're going, and I'm all for that, that everybody
I think
understands
so.
what's going on, because I'd kinda like to see it again. We got very short blurbs, maybe 2, presentations by Mott McDonald on what was gonna happen.
Let me,
Did you hear what Jerry said?
That doesn't matter.
okay, let me
I'm
ask this.
sorry you don't like my opinion, senor. Go ahead.
Let's give the man a chance to.
Okay. Could I ask, and I know that there was Mott McDonald did an oral presentation to us, but we were not videoing at the time, but I think the county was.
I don't know.
Do you recall, Pat, if they
They
did?
did one, yes, a few years ago.
Do you know, does the county still have that available, that
I would
video?
think so, because they archive those videos.
And we'll ask them.
Yeah, we'll do it and
I
get
think
it
that
out there.
might be useful, because I thought they did a good job of explaining to the gentleman, I can't remember the gentleman's name.
I think it was Aaron Horan.
Yeah.
That is, yes, that is, you're correct. So I think we just need a little more information.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll
Jerry,
entertain a motion to
Jerry,
table.
Jerry.
Let me ask a question. Why do you think that you would find within these plans that would change the mind of the majority to not go forward with this? I mean, I'm just, what are we looking for?
I feel the same way Jerry does. Just go ahead and vote on it now. and
Okay.
forget it. We should just start off.
Not to do this.
Look at it like this. You have 2 ditches, okay? And these ditches are what they are. And you're gonna improve flow by lining those ditches with rocks, which provides friction and it closes off the gap. Now, how is that gonna improve flow out of those 2 ditches? And it's not. It's gonna inhibit it. And that's why Keith recommended not. So, but
You can make a motion not to approve this and then go to where we need to go. I think that's what Jerry's trying
And
to
we
say.
can still
right?
supply you the data. We'll
yeah,
still
we'll
get all
get
that
that
data.
data. That's a non-issue.
So we can go ahead and vote on this now, just to, not to accept it and then move on, right?
Well, the only reason I suggest that is because we have 3, I think, Tommy, you and I were the only ones who were commissioners at the time, and I thought perhaps the other 3 might like.
Well, let's ask the other
chance
3
to
how
go.
they feel.
How do you, would you like to?
Let me just express my ignorance here. I have a paragraph that tells me nothing
Yeah.
in detail, and I don't know what it's about, so
So
I would
you-
like to learn.
You
a
would
little
like
bit.
to learn more about
Yes,
it
ma'am.
before we vote?
I hear Keith,
Okay.
I hear Tommy, yeah, throw
That
rocks on
was
the
my
ground.
concern. That was my question.
But if Jerry says, what difference will it make? Does that mean that somebody else is gonna pay for the project?
No.
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 No, I meant, would it make a difference with regard to the ultimate vote? That was the follow-up question.
Up or down.
Exactly.
What's the purpose of the
Okay,
I think the difference is that all of our commissioners would be more comfortable with the decision. Does that make sense?
I don't know enough about it to have a vote. I would just have to abstain if you did it.
Let's
so
table it
do
and hit
that.
it in the next meeting.
We talk about it.
Thank you.
Okay, I move that we table item, what item is the number? 15.
In terms of timing, is there some critical period?
Well, of course, we don't want this to drag out any longer than it is. I mean, that storm happened in 2017 and we're in 25, so,
Oh, it is.
the sooner
Thank
the
you.
better. I would have to get with the the program manager of the county, and see, do they have a hardline date that they're trying to
Okay.
achieve?
That's why I'm.
And all that could happen, that it goes away whether we vote on it or not, if we miss the deadline, right?
Correct.
Okay. So we have a motion. to
Okay,
table.
let me amend that motion. It actually is, as Martin pointed out, is actually item 14.
14, I'm sorry.
You second?
You're looking for, okay, Martin seconded?
I second
Oh,
it.
got a motion and a second.
I second it.
Finish it up?
All for tabling this item.
Okay. Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
I thought
made
tabling
the motion.
wasn't necessary to vote on.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Harbor Master
better
reports,
to know.
update on projects, happenings in the ACND properties, which may include but not limited to construction, improvement, and all the other great things we do around this area.
I'm gonna keep it brief. Our meeting was quite lengthy. Again, off of what Pat was talking about, we are gonna have another open workshop for our hazard mitigation plan. That's gonna be on March 6th. Janine and I are very busy of basically getting this information to the H2O Partners, who is the engineering firm that is putting this together, so we'll continue to do that. We have a pre-construction meeting for the Cove Harbor Base Dam project coming up later this week. Spring break is coming. Wow. That has become a big week for us. That includes the Crawfish Festival. Augie Garcia has turned into a master promoter of his events, and it really fills up our community, but it also puts a lot of stress and impact on the district. Oyster Fest, we just had an item to approve Oyster Fest. Life as we know it in Fulton, Texas will change for that week as they start the preparations, the event, and then the tear down. The district is heavily involved in that as well. And other than that, I'm gonna keep it brief, and that's kind of my report
Have
for
you
today.
informed the board about the economic impact study that you're doing?
That's going on too. There's an economic impact study that we have joined in with the Ports Association. All the ports are getting data back to Martin and Associates, a group out of Pennsylvania that is compiling all of the data. That will basically let all the people in our area know what the district's economic impact is to Aransas County. But from a statewide, all the ports want to show how valuable the ports are to the economics of our state. So when they go and try to argue for funding or future funding or considerations, the power of the ports, both large and small, the blue water ports to the brown water ports, which we are, they want to be able to show those numbers, and I think it's going to stagger some people. I know the big ports, Port of Corpus, Brownsville, Galveston, and so forth, they are our big top tier, and usually some of the top tier in the whole country. But the smaller ports, what they do for their local communities is quite vast. Just the things you approved today all happen on Navigation District property, and they pump money into our local economy. From the Wine Festival to Oyster Fest to Seafair to our monthly market days, the bait stands, all of our particular leases, just like the dry stack, it's got over 500 boats that buy fuel and ice and bait and all the different things, and they have some formulas that they're gonna put these things together and try to figure out what kind of economic impact we pump into our Aransas County economy. And I think when it's all said and done, I think our citizenry and taxpayers of our counties may have a little different thought process and outlook on the importance of the votes that y'all cast sitting at this table. And that's, Janine and I, my hair's getting thinner. Janine, you may be getting a little grayer, girl, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on. I wanted that firm to gather a lot of that data. They're just not being very successful. Without being insulting, when a guy from Pennsylvania with a very northern accent calls and asks Moose Johnson what his gross receipts for the year is, usually they get the dial tone when they hang up. So we're having to extrapolate all of that information from all of our clients. The Seafairs and the Oyster Fest and all the others, they've gathered data for years, so we're getting their data as well. But it's going to be interesting, but it's also a task that we are doing quite proudly, because I think it's going to show a lot of things for our community.
Could I add one
Nate?
little item?
Please do.
The TPA, they have finished that study for the major ports, and the Texas Port Association has gone to the legislature in the process now. 2 years ago, they received $600 million from the legislature, and they're now asking for $900 million. Now, they're trying to structure that so that it doesn't all go to just the major ports, and I think that's still in flux.
It is.
But I'm kind of monitoring that, and I know Pete is probably helping stay on top of that.
Absolutely. And what, there is a trend for the Transportation Department, now that we've got our ports somewhat under control on the big side, able to produce as much as possible, that they are focusing on the smaller ports, which is where we fall in. And so we have identified multiple places, sources. We are almost finished with our master plan for our 4 major harbors, which is Little Bay, Rockport Harbor, Fulton Harbor, and Cove Harbor. All of them need some work, and our master plan will give our friends at the Department of Transportation and the Port Association a roadmap of where we want to go for short and long-term funding. I want to point out that we have 2 marinas that should start going into construction phase within the next year or 2. I've got meetings set up with the Casey bunch, which are going to do Grass Island, a marina there, as well as the Key Allegro Marina rebuild. So these are very important. Our channels are not deep enough completely to be able to address the needs of these marinas and where they're going. And so it's very important, and I'm very encouraged on that. All right, Chairman and Commissioners reports. Update on the ACND environmental safety issues regarding Little Bay and other district properties. I want to take this a minute to thank the board for making me the chairman, and my goals are to get past all of the construction issues and the Harvey recovery that's really slowed us down on improving our facilities. At the same time, leveraging with grants the money that we have set aside. We did a report, and I really meant to bring it. There's a list of priorities of things that need to be fixed. We have, let's throw $9 million, but we had like 18 to $20 million of projects that really need to be done. We need to increase our breakwaters. We need to fix our bulkheads. There's just a lot of things, and dredge out our harbors. And so looking forward, we've got a couple more boat ramps that need to be built, and to be able to get all that. So that is my goal, to be able to get these improvements started once we get past all of the issues, and we're so close, and I'm very excited about being able to show some real improvement and production from the Aransas County Navigation District. Anybody else? Okay. At this time, press questions, Walter? Okay, thanks. We're going to go into closed meeting. Commission will recess this open meeting, conduct a closed meeting pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, to provide private consultation with our attorney under the act, and the commission will reconvene with no action considered We're good, yeah. We'll just go ahead and adjourn afterwards, is what I think. And so at this point, we
We
will
will have a
close.
vote on our agreement with the city.
Okay, everybody on?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back to the opening of the meeting, and we've got one more item to consider and related to the drainage matters within the Aransas County Navigation District. As we discussed, we're real close to an agreement with the city, and I will entertain a motion to approve for the chairman, should it come back as we hoped, without deliberation, to go ahead and sign the agreement and move forward.
I move that we tentatively approve this agreement as we discussed in our closed session. And if it comes back with no substantial changes, that we allow the agreement to be signed as we've discussed.
That's second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Not yet. No, seriously.
Go ahead.
Are we gonna have another meeting before spring break?
When's spring break?
It's March 18th.
That'll be in the middle of spring break, won't it?
I do think we should go back to 2 meetings a month.
Even if only
so.
for this situation, I didn't think, and I proposed the no cash situation, that spring break would be here before July 4th, or Easter weekend, as we thought. So, we may wanna think about alternatives.
I've got the head of the biggest probably festival in all of Aransas County fixing to come in here and chew on my butt in about an hour.
Okay, let's consider having a meeting for one purpose, or if we need to do it as a meeting.
You can do it as a special meeting.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll have one, if this
No, we've already
this thing
approved this.
doesn't come, if this thing comes back from the city.
First Monday in March is March 3rd, which is our traditional, until we change it. So everybody good with the March 3rd, 9
Sure.
o'clock,
After you have your butt chewing,
currently
let's,
special.
let's get together and see if we can't put something together to give you some alternatives.
So everybody think about it for that meeting. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second,
Motion made and second.
second.
Thanks for everybody attending.